It was just on WMUR tonight.
Hey, it's 6 o'clock, we're gonna get this meeting started.
Yeah.
So, up with that being said, we're gonna do the roll call first. Eric Bordeaux.
Brandy Pelletier.
Christy Wood.
Eunice Landry.
Matt Jazokis.
Jason Henry.
Tim Broderick.
Peggy Buford. Lauren Socio. Eliza Jolie.
Mike Folan.
That being said, please stand and join me for a pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up is the agenda review. I'll take a motion on it.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as submitted.
Second.
Okay, I would like to move boys hockey co-op and the athletic department's report up right after approval of meeting minutes, so he can make the games he has to make. Any other changes? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Then I will take a motion for the approval of the meeting minutes of January 13th, public and non-public.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting of January 13th, public and non-public.
Second.
Motion is second. Any corrections, changes, or anything? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. And then with there, one abstention. I will move this now to Athletic Director James Christie.
Sure. So, we currently co-op with Kingswood and actually Plymouth now on the girls' side for hockey. There's always been a question of why don't we do it on the boys' side. There was a real answer for that. Our enrollment combined with Kingswood would bump us up a division. We'd have to petition down and then not qualify for the playoffs. The NHIAA has changed this rule where you can petition down and still qualify for playoffs. So I had a chance to connect with Vaughn, the athletic director at Kingswood, about potentially co-oping. They are in a massive exchange of seniors going on that team right now. So they're actually staring down the barrel of not having enough kids to play boys hockey next year. So it all kind of worked out, perfect timing. The infrastructure of this agreement will be the exact same as what we have on the girls' side. They're the lead school. They pay for uniforms, the officials. You know, we basically, our families would just have to get the kids to Kingswood or Pop Whalen to hop on a bus to go to away games. Sometimes they pick us up on the way through, or at least get up to Pop Whalen for the home game. So we are not going to change the name to start. They are still going to just be the Knights. We're going to see how a 2-year cycle of this goes. Does it make sense? Without putting the burden on them of having to buy all these brand new jerseys if we decide a co-op doesn't make sense on the boys' side. So that's the only material difference between the two. I've done some initial research. I think right now at Prospect we have somewhere between 5 to 8 kids who currently play ice hockey. And we will have more that would want to try it as well, but those are kids that actually play some form of hockey today. So this roster may end up being about 50-50, quite honestly, right out the gate with Prospect students and Kingswood students. So I'm looking for your approval to move forward. Once we have that, we take this information, we go to the NHIAA, present the co-op. They should approve it, and we would have boys ice hockey in the winter of 26-27, this upcoming season.
So what is our cost factor in this?
Really nothing. You know, we'll have some marginal costs for, you know, things with Gabby and, you know, things of that nature. But as far as uniforms, officials, the busing, all of that is covered by Kingswood. The agreement we have does have some language, same thing on the girls' side, that if at some point Kingswood feels like they need some assistance, there would be a discussion that would happen between the two schools to figure out what that may look like. Speaking with Vaughn, he's like, man, we pay for this stuff already, it's budgeted. Adding Prospect does not add a cost to us. If anything, it's saving the program at this point.
Right, yeah. They probably won't have a team next year if it wasn't for this. Like, they don't have a JV team. They're graduating think like
8 or
12
9,
kids,
something
yeah,
like
a bunch of kids. So they basically wouldn't have a program next year, so it's kind of a win-win situation as I see it.
Most of you were serving on the board, the majority at least, when we did this a couple of years ago. On the girls' side, it's been nothing but successful. There hasn't been any, other than a few maybe frictional or marginal costs that we haven't even noticed, honestly.
Well, and the only feedback we heard then that was negative was, why aren't we doing it for the boys?
Yep.
So,
Yep. Right.
And
And by the way, did James cover this? The NHIA has changed. Did you do it? So that is the answer. We couldn't do it at the time because it would have actually hurt the team.
That being said,
I make a motion to approve, boys hockey co-op with Kansas.
I'll second it.
is there further discussion? All right, seeing none, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and it's approved. And what are you heading to next?
I'm heading to Guilford for the boys playoff game that's going on right now, so. And Tim, you're gonna cover huddle conversations in the
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. Thank you all very much, approve it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That leads us up to our first public input. A reminder, everybody, it's public input. Please come to the mic, state your name. 3 minutes each, or up to 15 minutes total. First public input has to be something that's on the agenda.
Kim Pika, Barnstead. While I've spent a lot of time over the past year speaking about challenges, I want to take a moment tonight to focus on all the great things happening at Prospect Mountain High School. I spoke last year about how well the school prepares our kids for their futures, and every year seems to get even better. There are more options available to students now than ever before. It is great to see the guidance students receive when choosing classes, whether that's in person, online, through dual enrollment, or at the Lakes Region Technology Center. And I can only imagine how much coordination goes on behind the scenes to make those opportunities work well for students. College planning nights are also extremely helpful for families, breaking things down year by year and giving a clear picture of what you should be doing next, depending on your child's grade level. The career fairs are another highlight. They give students the chance to ask real-world questions and start narrowing down what they might want to do after graduation. I've even heard from some of the companies that participate that Prospect hosts one of the best fairs they attend in terms of organization, space, and the number of participants. As usual, Winter Carnival Week and the lip sync were a big hit with the kids, bringing a sense of unity to the school. The Alton Basketball Night was a wonderful tribute to the amazing ladies and coach who helped shape the future of basketball at PMHS. Prospect students are working hard academically, and their accomplishments in extracurriculars and athletics is something to be proud of. Many teachers spend hours outside their regular duties supporting clubs and activities, giving students outlets beyond the classroom. I do have one question that I understand may not have an immediate answer. Last year during a board meeting, a club requested funding for a field trip. At that time, one board member suggested exploring a percentage-based model for allocating funds more evenly between clubs and sports. I'm just curious if this was ever revisited. As a parent, I have to say that I thoroughly enjoy hearing the funny day-to-day moments that happen at PMHS. Let's face it, working with teenagers is not always easy, and the adults who choose to teach this age group have a very unique skill set. Their ability to keep a sense of humor, build relationships, and guide students even on tough days does not go unnoticed. When students are having a rough day, they often turn to staff for reassurance, maybe stopping by the nurse's office for a quick check-in, talking with a guidance counselor, teacher, or administrator, or finding a quiet moment in the library. For many kids, these are safe spaces they can count on. As they grow into young adults and start managing their emotional and healthcare needs, these supports and experiences are what help them succeed. Lastly, I want to mention the football opportunity. While there are valid opinions on both sides, what stands out most is the sense of community and excitement it has brought. I appreciate all the time, energy, and dedication that our teachers, staff, and administrators put into creating these opportunities for students and supporting their success at Prospect Mountain High School.
Thank you. And I concur with the nights, again, for all of them, for the career nights, the college nights, the finances, everything else. They were really well done. And, my kid and I have been following the roadmap of that, so it was very helpful. So I do appreciate that. Well, again, thank you very much. Anybody else for public input? Seeing none, hearing none, I will close this public input. We'll move on to reports. Does anybody on the school board have anything that they need to bring forward? Okay. Seeing none. In that case, first up in our packet will be the finance report. Heidi?
I don't have any concerns, if anyone has any questions.
Anybody have questions on the finances? All right, seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on. Next up, Prospect Mountain High School Counseling Center. I mean, we have it in our packet.
Do I need to stand? Yes.
Sure.
The microphone.
Yeah, gotta be the microphone, so people can hear you out there in media world.
Thank you. So tonight, I shared with you earlier the Timberwolf tips, just highlighting some of the things that the counseling department provides for you to review, the different nights that we have and different events. So you have that as well. And then tonight I'm asking for approval for the 26-27 program of studies for next year. I think we're doing some amazing things, and thank you, Ms. Pika, for your comments. Appreciate those. I've highlighted the things that are in the program of studies that are changes next year, most notably the Ed 306 changes that the New Hampshire Department of Ed has required. And in those, the graduation requirements are spelled out there. I've listed the new classes, the changes of the program studies and the formatting of it. Also, one important thing is that we're partnering with the Lakes Region Community College so that students can pursue an associate's degree the same time they receive their high school diploma, which is a wonderful opportunity and very economical for our students to be able to do. We've added some ELOs, for example, the FIRST Robotics, so students can receive credit for participating in those once they pass the competencies. And so I'm just looking to see if anybody has any questions about the program of studies for next year or the Timberwolf tips.
So it's not on the action item, just looking for us to move forward on tonight?
We don't need a,
You have to approve it.
we need an approval?
Yeah.
Then you do.
Yep. Sorry, I missed that.
I need a motion to approve the 2026-2027 program of studies.
I'll second.
Second for discussion, so it's open for discussion.
Just a quick question for clarification.
Sure.
Where it says this year any class offered to a sophomore, that's the current freshman class.
Yes.
Right? Those become embedded honors.
Yes.
And so on and so on.
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Or needing more time? Christy, I see you studying it down there, so if you have questions.
No,
or-
I'm good.
I just want to make sure. Okay. In that case, all in favor? Aye.
Great, thank you very much.
Next up, it brings us to the principal's report.
So I just want to start by saying, as one of those educators myself who's also an administrator, I understand perhaps more than most what it means when the state gives us new Ed 306 guidelines we need to implement. A lot of that is reflected in the program of studies. And Ms. Sheff won't say this, but I will. She worked tirelessly to update our program of studies while maintaining a full counselor load. It was a massive undertaking. And the ultimate result is our students have more options, more pathways. It's going to be a boon for our kids. So it's a massive undertaking with the state giving us all new hoops that we need to jump through on top of that. So I just wanted to make sure she gets recognized for that. Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, our wonderful librarian, media specialist, does wonderful tech tips. I always like to give her a shout out. And in this packet, which I also provided the link when I shared it. But in this packet, there's actually 3 overnight trips. And as a reminder for the board, the principal and or assistant principal and or dean, we approve every field trip, but policy says the board has to weigh in when it's an overnight trip. So just a reminder for all of you, that's why you get certain trips, and the vast majority of other trips you don't have anything to do with because they're not overnight. And then I'll just simply end with, I make it a practice to always share the good news. And one of the benefits of being the principal is sometimes I get the props for doing this, but I want to remind everyone that our designated person in the main office is Assistant Principal Delbarone, who works works pretty hard to put, caught myself. He works pretty hard to put this.
I was going to fill in for you.
To put this slideshow together, and he solicits input from kids, from staff, from members of the community, and it's really a great way to know what's happening and the special things kids and staff members are doing in the school. So if you haven't taken a chance yet to read through that, it really gives you a good accounting of the stuff happening in the school. So with that, I'm happy to entertain any questions.
I just have one question. Linda, can you help me understand, it says US history is a half credit now, not a whole credit?
So actually the history had more increases than any other subject. We've gone from 3 credits of social studies up to 4.5 credits of social studies now. And it's a combination of, they have to have New Hampshire, US history, New Hampshire government. It's kind of all combined. Some of those you won't see the changes until the incoming class of 2030
Sure, yeah.
becomes 11th and 12th grade.
I'm just noticing though, it's only a half credit for US history. So what's the idea? The idea is they take another half credit in,
It's
New
half,
Hampshire?
it's
Yes.
New Hampshire history plus US history.
so 2 half credit classes kind of, is that how?
They're gonna be combined as a 1 credit class.
So that's really a bite out of US then, huh?
Pardon me?
That's a bite out of US history. That used to be a year-long survey class. Was that our choice or was that state's?
State.
State? Unbelievable. I'm glad to hear that. That it's not ours.
Yeah. They've increased the requirements at elementary school too and what they cover for classes.
Yeah. All right, thanks. That's-
Anything else for the principal? As always, thank you for the stuff in the packet. We appreciate it. Please let the assistant principal know as well. Buildings and grounds, which is in our packet. Does anybody have any concerns or questions that need to be answered? Seeing none, and move on from there. Move on to the central office technology report. That's also in our packet. Anybody have any questions or wish to speak about it? All right, very subdued group tonight.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Buildings and grounds, that light.
Building grounds, hold on.
The front entrance is still.
It's on our list.
Thank you.
We have to get a thing out there to get up on it and there's a process.
All winter long.
We know, it's
I
on
know.
our.
Thank you.
It's Thursday night, you know.
So you have to get a lift and everything else.
Well, it's hard to get up there, yeah, and there's just something going on, so it's gonna have to, you know.
Close to the spring where it's more light out later.
Yeah, I mean, we've been dealing with snow and
Technology reports. All right, curriculum assistant, assistant superintendent, Sokas.
Thank you. There's a few things I want to highlight tonight, and then I'll turn it over to Chris to kind of go over some information after quarter number 2 with our embedded honors piece. I am working with other Lakes Region CIA people, most notably Guilford, Inner Lakes, Governor Wentworth, and Molten Borough on what we call the New Hampshire Secondary Innovation Project for grades 7 through 12. We are looking at getting a cohort of teachers to participate with the potential of some graduate credits along the way. I won't go through all the specifics, but the link is there for you. We're working with the DOE to secure funding for this project. It's the first that I can tell that I've been part of since I've been in education, where we're getting multiple districts to come together and collaborate on a lot of the things that the Ed 306s are telling us we have to do. So we'll have some more information as we go through the process with those districts, and I'll be reaching out to you to give you updates on that. Literacy Committee met earlier today. We are in that stage right now where we've identified some curriculums that we're looking at. We created an evaluation tool, broke up into 3 groups, and those 3 groups will be walking through that process of evaluating those curriculums with the understanding of trying to narrow it down to 1 or 2 where we can then pilot sometime in April, do some site visits in April and May, and then come back to the boards in June with a recommendation. Again, our goal is to put the recommendation forward this year, utilize next year for the professional development, because that was one of the big pieces that our faculties said, if we're going to do this, let's do it right, let's make sure we get all the training. So we'll be doing that with implementation the following school year. So we'll have some more information in March. Our next meeting is March 9th. We continue our 12 through K vertical alignment today. Steve Renner, part of our science department, and Chris Lee, our dean, facilitated our 5 through 12 and did a lot of work around the alignment process. There was some great conversations with the group. This is the 3rd group that has met, and up to this point, it's been nothing but positive responses. So they went through, took a look at what grade 9 is doing. They looked at what they're doing in 5 through 8, and then we started to look at gaps and different things of that nature, and started to put the scope and sequence and adjust it based off of where our grade 9 is. The group will be meeting again, at least one more time before it's all said and done. So we'll keep you posted on that. Earlier in the year, Chris was here talking about our quarter number 1 grades. We went through the DOK, as you remember, the depth of knowledge, things of that nature. So we wanted to take a look at where quarter 2 is. So she'll be giving you an update on quarter 2. In addition to just the grade distribution, she'll also be talking about some of the things that the departments have done when you see some of the shifts that have happened, but also the reasons why, where there were some other shifts. So I'll turn it over to Chris, and if you have any questions, you can certainly throw them out.
Before we start, anybody in the audience that wants to come up here so you can see the slides, feel free to take a chair so you can see the slides if you'd like.
And I emailed you a copy of the presentation.
So as Matt reminded you, when I was here last, it's the end of quarter 1, and I promised that I would be back at the end of quarter 2 so that we could take a look at where we were and how the 2 quarters compared with each other. I also promised you that I would bring every core discipline, whereas last time I just did the 2 big ones to give you an idea of what it was like. So, okay, so we'll start with algebra. So let me just show you how to read this. So the marking period, the first top line of the grades is quarter 1, and then there's quarter 2. This bottom line indicates the change in the number of students from quarter 1 to quarter 2. If it's yellow, that's a cautionary. So if it's yellow and it went down, it means going up would have been what we were going for. And I point that out because on this side, there's also a -7 and it's green. So just to show you, this top column are the number of students that achieved honors, which is 95% or higher. This is the group in between, which is about 94 to 71%. And the last column is 70% or lower, or it's actually 70.4 or lower. which is a grade of no credit, or of no, you get no credit from that point. You have to go into your next, term, your next quarter, to bring that grade up. So what I want to point out with algebra, this was our hardest one. This is where we had the biggest struggles for helping kids along. And when I was here last time, I said, I want this column to move this way. That was our goal as a department and as a school. And in fact, we lowered that number by 7 students. So the number now between 94 and 71 is where it's a perfect bell curve, if you will. So what some of the algebra teachers did, I'm not going to read all of these because you have the presentation, but there are some things school-wide that we really tried to focus on. And one was that in-class small group instruction. And so what that means for those of you who haven't been in a classroom is the teacher will teach and present the information for 15, 20 minutes. And then they set their kids free to work alone, in groups, whatever that might look like. And while the kids are doing that, the teacher is calling kids over to a table in a small group, maybe 3 kids, 2 kids, whatever, working on a specific skill to maybe fill a gap, fill a hole, or even for some kids, it's just to check in at that moment. So those are the small group instruction. Most of our disciplines are doing those now. I have to say, our algebra teachers haven't eaten lunch without students in a bit, and that's voluntary. That's how they do some of their check-ins, because a lot of our kids can't stay after school because they don't have a ride home, or some of them work. Biology, this was the other one I presented you with last time. So biology quarter 1 compared to quarter 2, you can see some of the kids shifted from honors to the 94 to 71. But we also moved 4 kids from below 70 into that center column. The biology teachers have really, they've done a phenomenal job. They are meeting kids after school, before school. Some kids can't come after. They go over missing work regularly with the kids. So what that looks like is they'll print out a sheet that says these are all your missing assignments, and they'll meet with the kids. They always offer retakes, that's our school policy, but they offer it with reteaching. So it's not just, you didn't do great, do you want to take it again? All right, I'll see you on Wednesday. It's a whole reteaching. One of our teachers, so the summative assessments that I showed you last time I was here, they're long. They can take a couple of classes to finish. So one of our teachers breaks the assessment up according to where they are. So she might teach the unit for 3 weeks and give a part of the summative assessment. So it really was helping kids with fatigue. And now going into the end of this quarter, she'll sort of build up their stamina for testing, and she'll bring back that 2-day summative assessment. One fun one, so we have another science teacher, Steve Renner, who was frustrated because he felt a lot of his kids were getting some of the questions wrong because in their minds, they were having trouble writing like a scientist right now, right? Because they're just coming here. So he came up with this way with the kids, and he goes, I'll tell you what, for right now, just tell me a story. Just tell me a story of the water buffalo. Just tell me, don't worry about the big fancy language right now. Just tell me the story. And that way, that started to allow him to know if kids were actually processing it and just not quite ready to use that language, or like, where is the barrier for these kids? So they've gotten very creative in trying to pinpoint where kids need the most help. So for English, quarter 1, as you can see, they have 1 less student achieve honors. And I want to address, because it's not even an elephant in the room, it's right here on the board, they had 5 more students here. So I met with the English department and asked them about it. And one of the things that they did is when the kids came in this year, they started the year using short texts that weren't particularly complex. And one of the reasons educators do that is then you can focus on another skill. So all their energy isn't going into trying to understand what Dostoevsky was talking about, right? They're really focused on the other standards. This quarter now, they are expected to read longer text and more complex text. So when I asked the department chair about it, none of them were surprised. They had anticipated that this was going to happen. But one thing they do is the English department we have a ESC room, it's the Educational Support Center, where kids can go and get one-on-one help with some of their academics. Some kids go during lunch, some have study halls and they go. The English department has sent more kids to the ESC for one-on-one help than any other department, because they realize that they need to move them along a little bit faster if we're gonna get through the whole curriculum and the kids are gonna do well. Social studies knocked it out of the park. That is our citizenship class. There's 6 more students made honors, 7 fewer left the 70 or below column. Similar interventions that our other teachers are doing. She did say that a good chunk of Q1 was setting the foundation for behavioral expectations, academic expectations. And she felt like that really made a difference. Our school-wide, so this intervention strategy is school-wide, doesn't matter what subject you teach. It's the educational support system. It's staffed by Peter Brophy and Kim Whittier. In Q1, they had 1,881 visits to their room. So 10 kids maybe went 20 times. So this isn't the number of kids, it's the number of visits. Q2, as the academics started getting more rigorous, they had over 2,000 visits to their room for kids who had academic questions or maybe needed support. And so far in Q3, they've had 757. This is a remarkable number. So Kim and Peter, really, they deserve a huge thank you. They've had over almost 5,000 students come through their room this year. Continuing to improve it. Vertical alignment, Matt was talking about that. We did science today. That was a great experience, by the way. So that should hopefully fill in some of the gaps the kids might have as they go from grade to grade, because we're all gonna start using the same programs. The departments are still talking about what they'd like to tweak a little bit for the next year, and they're continuing to make adjustments for this year. And then we're also talking about, we're noticing some things school-wide that we might want to change. Like, not all freshmen have a study hall. And now that we've upped the rigor of our academics, it's just a question that I've put out there, like, maybe they should all have a study hall freshman year until they get acclimated to high school. But, yeah, that's it. I just want to make sure I thank Peter Brophy. He helps me wrangle my numbers. And Kim Whittier for supporting, of course, our classroom teachers. I showed you all of the great things they're doing, but I didn't want to leave those 2 folks out, so.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I just want to add one thing to that piece of it. You're all set, Chris, you can sit. When you see that number 95, you know, one of the things that we talked about with our embedded honors is that we're looking at it from a standards-based approach. But we're still in a traditional grading system, and so that's how that piece goes. So when we're looking at our assessments and things of that nature, we're looking at rubrics and those kids that are scoring on a 4-point rubric in the 4s, really sort of excelling within that standard, and that's where you see that sort of 95 and higher. Again, we're in a traditional setting, so we have to equate what the standards look like in that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 into a percentage. So I don't want you to think like, you know, why did we do all this when we're just giving 95s and up, but we're still working in that process. So I just wanted to make sure that we're aware of why that looks like the way it does.
I have a question on the assessments. And you had said that it's school policy for the students to be able to reassess. Is there a structure to that? Like, can students, is it all the same for all departments? Like, math is the same as, you know, social studies, like if you don't do well? Or is there like, oh, well, if you get below, only the kids that get below 75 are allowed to take it? Or is it anyone who wishes to reassess to increase their grade is allowed to do that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so with the summative assessments, there is a time, you can't, you know, if you take a summative in December, you can't retake it in March.
Right.
Right? But, yeah, so it's 80 or below.
Yeah, we, last school year, administration worked with the department chairs, and we formalized a set protocol school-wide to specifically spell out when, how, the hoops you need to jump through to reassess a summative. And that's actually in our handbook. So it's spelled out, everyone's on the same page, whether you're in an art class, math class, science class, and everything in between. There's set things you need to do, criteria that you need to meet in order to meet the threshold to reassess a summative. So that's in place. It seems to be working because we've had it in place for, we started, I think, about mid-year last year. We updated this, I think, at the semester. So we've had it for about a school year's worth of time, and teachers know it, kids are used to it now. There's a set timeline, you know, certain things you have to do, et cetera. So if you remind me before we go tonight, I can pull it up and take a screenshot and send it to you.
Do a lot of students take advantage of that reassessment?
We would always want more to do it. At the end of the day, they are teenagers, right?
Yeah.
So they need reminders. Dovetailing with everything Chris is doing, we also have a separate initiative running in concert with that, where I'm really focusing in on working with the department chairs to work with their teachers in the department to provide interventions for kids who are failing and or at risk of failing, which includes at the top of the list, usually the top 2 ones are, hey, you got a bunch of formatives you got to turn in. Number 2, you got to meet with your teacher to come up with that plan to reassess. So those are the top 2 interventions. So we're really bringing that into like the current zeitgeist, so to speak, to make sure that's on the forefront for kids. So everything Chris is doing, we have multiple things running in concert with each other to ultimately help kids be successful.
And I think as we continue to progress in this, there might be some shifts to that, there might not be. I think when people hear about standards-based or competency-based, you know, it was sort of one avenue or the other, right? It was like, well, whatever you feel like making it up, go ahead and make it up. It could be June, and you're making something up from January, which makes absolutely 0 sense. And so David and his team have put together, with the help of the department heads, some guidelines so kids understood, like, okay, this is important stuff, right? And so if you're gonna be successful in February, March, April, and May, you wanna take care of this in June. And so January, by having those guardrails, it helps kids keep focused. Again, we're talking about teenagers, right? So if you're telling a teenager, whenever you're ready to make that up, let me know. That, you know, there are gonna be a small few kids who say, okay, I'm gonna schedule next week, but the majority of them are gonna look up in 2 weeks, 3 weeks and go, oh, that's right, I was supposed to do that. So again, it's a work in progress, and we'll continue to have conversations with the teams about it.
I do think it's helpful that there's just consistency, because I know, like, I have a child that's a junior and a freshman, but I remember when my junior was a freshman, it was very inconsistent in terms of, like, I would ask her, like, can you retake that? Oh, I don't know, I need to talk to that teacher. Like, it was all kind of dependent on the particular teacher, so.
Do you need the mic closer? Is that what you're looking to look for?
Oh, it's much more helpful to have it, like, consistency, so they know the expectations.
Good for the kids too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know what to expect.
And
Liza,
I
can you
will
bring that mic close? They can't hear you, so that's.
I will say, also having a child who is that typical teenager that doesn't particularly love schoolwork, the intervention piece has been really helpful, as well as the communication back home too. Like when, hey, today your kid has to go to.
Yeah, bring that closer. I can't hear you.
Your child has to go, you know, to the ESC and get additional help. So they make it optional, but then they make it not optional, and that's been beneficial.
It's a learning curve for the ninth graders too, because remember, this is a batch of kids who are used to going from kindergarten, and they all go to first grade, and they all go to second grade, right? So in their freshman year, you have to remind them a lot of times that, like, you're in high school now, so if you don't pass the class, you have to take it again. And there is that teenager thought process of, nah, and then, oh, yeah, I gotta take it again. So it's really, I think, all things considered, I think it's going really, really well. We've tightened up a lot of loopholes, and when I say loopholes, I mean ways to catch kids that we may not have been catching them before, and ways for them to get caught with making up grades and things like that. So, you know, it's a learning curve for freshmen in particular.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Brandon.
I think the only one thing I want to mention, and I appreciate, you know, with the QT updates and the data that you had, and just hearing the amount of students that have taken advantage of the ESC, I think that's great. I think the only concern I have, and maybe it's not a concern, maybe it's just I need to have a conversation with somebody, is there's a lot of focus for those students that need that extra support, and that's wonderful. And there's some students that are like meeting that embedded honors at the 95, and then they're slipping out, and how much support is given to those students that just need a little bit of intervention themselves, but they're not necessarily, like they're at a 90%. So are those students also getting the support that they need?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked me that, because I just didn't think to mention it. So one of the reasons why we really put a lot of emphasis on in-class small group instruction is because there are those kids that don't need to stay after, they don't need to come in for lunch, but they're just a little bit foggy in some things, right? That's the opportunity for the teacher to do that. So for example, if I teach, I'm not gonna say algebra because I won't be able to give you an example, but if I teach science, I might have you three come to me and we'll work on a specific skill. But those other two might not need your skill. They might just need a little something else. So that small group instruction is actually tailored towards the kids who are there. And that's where that would come from. If a teacher doesn't feel like that's working or it's not enough, or you as a parent don't feel like it's working or it's not enough, then you could reach out and we can see if they need more or different. But right now, that's mostly how we're addressing those kids who just need a little smidge of something. But that small group instruction, also, there's a lot of concern about what about the kid who maybe could go even further. And so that's a piece of our conversation too, is that small group is the time to have those conversations and to make those adjustments for the kids who finish early all the time, or don't struggle in that particular subject.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because again, 14-year-old boys, they're not going to say, I can do more, I want to do more. So I just wanted to make sure that we're paying attention to those kids, that they can do more. They're not necessarily have all the focus of, like, you need the ESC support, but I don't want to lose those kids into that other column when they are capable of more, but they are teenagers, so they're not going to, and not all parents maybe, are having those conversations perhaps. I just want to make sure that they have that support in the classroom. Yeah.
Some can't pick their kids up, some can't talk on the phone during the day, so,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Seeing none? Thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Just to clarify one thing, we have a protocol for retaking summatives that has been shared with every teacher, but it's not actually in the handbook, but it's been shared with everyone. So I'll make it a point to share it with you.
All right, next please, superintendent, do you want to talk to the huddle first?
Yeah, so this is actually just a data privacy question. Every once in a while, we have a lot of state laws in New Hampshire, the second most restrictive data privacy laws in the United States under New Hampshire state law, because why not? And what that does is it limits the software we can use in our public schools, because if vendors won't agree to extremely specific data privacy practices, two-factor authorization in their data centers, certain kinds of servers and not other kinds, just very, very prescriptive requirements. They can't sign what's called a data privacy agreement, a DPA. Some of you have heard us talk about these before. We use a clearinghouse that secures DPAs from software vendors for us, and once they're signed, then we can use the software. Some of you know what Huddle is. When you get a site license for Huddle, and we have budgeted for one, all of your athletic teams can use Huddle to record practices and record games, and then the coaches have access to tools that allow them to mark up video, send messages to players, whether it's in team meetings or even through their email, and use it as a teaching tool. Huddle does not sign a DPA that complies with New Hampshire's rules. Many other schools use it anyway, and our system has always been to come to you in a situation like this and ask for you to vote to give us permission, A, to get written permission from parents of every child with whom we might use the software, and then use it with that parent permission. So this is not exactly the way the state law works. We've done it with some other software. We would like to do it with Huddle. It's an extremely common tool in high school sports. I don't know if most schools use it, but it sort of seems that way. And I think that it's probably true that most schools don't comply with the state's data privacy laws the way we do, but they should. Our latest school that has been subject to a data breach found out yesterday and is experiencing a week without access to any of their own data right now, and hoping to have it back by next week or by the end of school vacation. I don't think they've gone public yet, so I'm not mentioning what district it is, but you're all gonna read about it in the paper. And it's not us, and I sincerely believe it is because our IT department is willing to be kind of a pain and enforce these rules. But we still want to get things done, right? So in a situation like this, I come here, I ask you for your permission to let us get signed parent consent and then use this software product. That's the question.
So we used Huddle last year at Kingswood, and we're actually moving away from Huddle though because of this issue. So we're moving to a different platform, and we're no longer using Huddle for this next school year. That's at least what another school's doing. So there are other there are other tools out there. I just know that much. I don't know all the details and whatnot, but that's just at least from my experience. And so what would happen if one student athlete's parent doesn't sign the waiver?
Yeah, we wouldn't use it for that team.
Right, so that entire team, nothing would be available.
I don't think we'd have a choice, right?
Right.
Yeah. Now, the law that we all heard about, and I told you we weren't going to lose our minds over it when we met in January, is being changed, right? So that is going to loosen up. So maybe there's a way around that, like if there were one kid on a team.
And so how many cameras are we looking at getting?
I have no idea, sorry, unless it's in your report. I don't know the answer to that.
I believe there's two, one for outside and one for inside. Yep. The one that would be able to do all the soccer games, football, wouldn't be able to do baseball, softball, just because of location, and then one in the gym.
Other questions?
See it in here, do we have an estimate on the cost? Did you say the estimate on the cost?
It's in the budget. Do you know what it costs, Matt or Dave?
I don't have the number off the top.
It is relatively expensive.
Yeah, it's not,
It's I want to say it's $8,000 or $10,000 for the year.
Yeah, because each
But
basically
it's
came,
budget.
yeah.
So this is not a budget question. This is not a can we spend the money question. It's in the budget. This is we don't have a DPA, so can we move forward with parent permission?
Do the teams film their practices and games now?
Some do, some don't. You know, when I was a coach a long time ago, I had an iPad on a tripod and I would film certain things. We didn't have all these rules back then, I just did it. Now, you've got to fill out forms and get
Parents can film if they want to though, right?
one of the benefits of Huddle is that the student can have access to it via their own place with mom and dad giving them approval. And they can do their own highlight videos through it. They can do those types of things for recruiting, and it's a lot easier than, hey coach, can I get that, you know, I'll date, right, the VHS so we can
splice together.
You remember, I'm
video.
And I know the soccer team used it for the boys, and it is helpful, right? They have practices that would be used for reviewing film. And even some of the little wins, like good plays, they might highlight those and share them. So I think it's a great software to have for an athletic department. If it's already in the budget, perfect. If it's not gonna, you know, cost us anything more, and then I do think it's important that we do have parent consent.
If the board's looking for it, you can do a motion that would be, again, what just talked about parent consent, all that stuff, and while the school still explores other options.
You could also look, you know, if we do approve this and look for parental consent for middle school because they do play here, and they could also, right, use the software too to record their, like, you know, under the light games or whatever.
All of our teams, yeah.
So.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make it, but how do you want to?
Just giving us permission to use Huddle software with parent consent.
I make a
And while the
motion.
school looks at the possibility of other options.
Okay. I make a motion for the school to use Huddle software with parent consent and to look at any additional options that may be available.
Second.
Further questions, concerns? Looks like there might be some dissension, so. All right, all in favor? Aye. Anybody abstaining or opposed? Okay, passes. You're up still?
So the memo in your packet is asking you to vote to establish an alternative school. Now, this relates to the alternative program that was approved for this joint board by the State Board of Education in September of 2024. We're now in the piloting phase. We've got about 40 students taking classes online. And we're now looking at the first year of mandatory testing, New Hampshire SAS, SAT testing, and we've been working with the Department of Education, who of course have never done this before, because this is a new idea, trying to figure out how to manage the data, the test score data, and the enrollments for these kids. Neither we nor the Department of Ed want these online students mixed in with the enrollment data or the test score data with our Prospect Mountain High School in-person students. We want a separate data environment for them. So this was an idea that actually it was the Department of Ed staff that came up with. A school board in New Hampshire has the authority to create an alternative school by a vote, which is what I'm asking you to do. Then I report to the Department of Education that you did it, send in the minutes from the meeting, and they create a data set for the alternative school that's separate from our high school. So I don't often, I told some of this to you, I told some of you in Alton last night, I don't like to bring you something at a meeting and ask you to vote on it at that meeting. I like to talk about it for a month and then maybe come back again and that kind of thing typically. But in this case, I'd like to get a data set up with the Department of Education so that we can prepare for mandatory testing in April this year. So if not tonight, certainly in March. And we're already we're already doing it, right? You already approved the innovation plan, submitted it to the state board, voted to enter an agreement with Stride, so this thing's already rolling on the tracks a little bit, and this is sort of just a mechanical step to help us handle the data and keep it separate from the student data in our high school. So that's the purpose of this, and that's what I'm asking you to consider doing.
That way on our data at the end of the year would not reflect the alternative school, it would just be our regular high school students.
You really...
So you could report out on the alternative.
Yeah, I mean, the whole project is more meaningful when you can look at how do students do in an online school and keep that completely separate from how are kids doing at Prospect Mountain High School. Mixing them together really kind of ruins both data sets. There's a later down the line question that I know many of us are aware of, having to do with athletics and the way the NHIAA creates divisions. Separating the data would help us go to the NHIAA and say, Prospect Mountain High School's enrollment is 415 students. Yes, there's this group of online students in this other data set, but that's not our enrollment for the purpose of athletics, and that's a bridge we know we're gonna have to cross at some point as we navigate these waters. So this would help later, but right now, we're looking for a place to enroll students to keep their data separate from the data we submit to the Department of Education a few times a year for the kids here in the school.
And the motion for this meeting is just for grades 9 through 12.
Yeah, so we could do 7 through 12 here, but thinking farther ahead, right? I have a memo that was in the Alton Board agenda packet last night, and that's in the Barnstead Board agenda packet later this week about doing this at the K through 8 level. The department thinks we should have 2. And then the question is just, do you go K through 6 and 7 through 12, or do you go K through 8 and 9 through 12? And again, thinking forward, K through 8 and 9 through 12 is more consistent with what we do in general. So just in discussion with the staff of the Department of Ed, that was what we all kind of thought would make the most sense going forward. But for the joint board for tonight, I'm asking 9 through 12.
I make a motion for us to establish a grade 9 through 12 alternative school for the purpose of enrolling and serving Granite State Academy students.
Second.
Further questions, concerns? All those in favor? Aye. Abstentions, anything else? Okay, so I assume the other parts will just by each town take their own vote.
Yeah, so you'll see it when Barnstead meets later in the week. The Alton Board discussed it last night. I'm actually suggesting an MOA between the two that you do want to talk about separately and then come back together on, I think, which is why it makes sense to start at those meetings. But when a school district in New Hampshire votes to establish an alternative school, it has the authority to either do that by itself or in cooperation with another school district. So entering into a memorandum of agreement to open an alternative school in cooperation with one another would sort of keep the paradigm the same from the joint board alternative program online all the way through the elementary grades. So, for another day.
Anything else? Anything else, Tim?
I don't think I did, do I?
Anything else on that?
I don't think I do. Thank you.
That brings us up to action items. Well, we've already said alternative school, we've already done that. Co-op's done too. So now we're up to the history, we're up to trips. History, outing club, music department, overnight trips.
Do you want 3 separate motions?
Yeah, so in case somebody wishes to discuss each one, yes, please.
I make a motion to approve the 20th anniversary history club overnight trip.
Second.
Does anybody have questions on that trip? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We have the packet.
I make a
It's in my
motion
report.
to approve
Second.
Motion and second. Is there questions on that? Concerns? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
And make a motion to approve the music department overnight or
Second?
Seeing question? Is there concerns, questions? Anybody have anything? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. We're up to boys co-op, we did that. We're up to personnel. We're appointing. Is that in our packet?
So, so this is a non-certified, not a certified teacher or administrator, so it doesn't require a nomination and board appointment, but it's pretty important. You're all aware of Linda Roy's retirement date
No, sorry.
coming up.
Yeah.
We've expressed gratitude, and I think everyone in the school is going to continue to do that for the next few weeks, and we will do that on behalf of the board. Okay, that's something that my office will take care of.
Thank you.
So we posted, we interviewed, and many of you know Jen Dashenko, who has been working as the registrar at Alton Central School. So she knows state reporting, she knows the systems, and we're in the process of planning a transition so that she can spend some time with Linda here at the high school. She's going to move up here and not only take over registrar responsibilities at the high school, but take on oversight for consistency of data reporting at all of our schools. One of the fun things about this shared services project over the last 6 or 7 years has been that when student files came after 8th grade from the 2 elementary schools to the high school, we re-entered all the data and started over. Now that you've let us go to one student information system, right, we're an infinite campus at all 3 schools, we don't have to do that anymore. That used to be a whole project that took place every summer that we don't have to do now. We just can promote the 8th graders to 9th grade, and they merge into a new 9th grade. But that means that data integrity is way more important now than it's ever been. So we've invested Jen with the responsibility to work with the registrars and the folks who enroll kids and things like that in the elementary schools to make sure that our data is consistent, that we apply some. We've written a lot of procedural guidance. I think we've shown you a couple of times the knowledge-based document that we've been creating with 60 or so documents linked from it. One of those is about, for example, verifying residency, right? Somebody showing up at one of our schools with a child standing next to them saying, this is my son and I want him to go to your school, actually isn't enough to enroll a child in our public school. There's more that we need to do, and making sure that we're doing those things consistently and following the law and following both state and federal regulation is important. So we're looking for Jen to be a little bit more of a quarterback for all of those activities across the schools. That means that we have an open position at Alton Central School that we reported to the Alton board last night has already been posted, and interviews are being scheduled, and we're moving forward. So that's the personnel report for you tonight, but it made sense, I think, to be transparent with everybody about
There's no
how that was
action.
played out.
There's no action taken, but does anybody feel they need to go non-public to discuss this? Okay. That brings us up to our second input, same as I said in the first public input.
Kim Pika. Thank you to the board chair for your recent message letting me know that legal counsel will be reviewing the concerns I've raised. Over the years, several former employees and community members have stepped forward to share their experiences and concerns, many individuals raising similar concerns to those I have spoken about. If these concerns have been brought forward repeatedly over the course of years, why has it taken so long for them to be addressed? And why is the district now funding legal fees to respond to issues that have been happening for years? Addressing issues early helps avoid formal disputes that place an avoidable financial burden on our district. Last month, my written statement was described as a Barnstead-only issue. While I shared my personal experience because it's the only one I can document, my concern has always been broader. It's about how employment and compliance matters have been handled across the district over time. That being said, I will explain why my particular situation should not be viewed as a Barnstead-only issue. Had I accepted the position offered to me, I would have been responsible for developing 10 to 15 individual education plans each year, even though neither I nor the special education director held the required New Hampshire certification. IEPs aren't just isolated documents. They record a student's current performance, goals, and services, which follow them into high school. When compliance issues happen at the middle school level, they may carry forward to the high school. I'm not asking the board to investigate every certification issue. Challenges exist in every district, and a level of flexibility is necessary. But major gaps, especially in high-risk leadership roles, need close oversight. At the time, the special education director was one of the district's highest-paid employees, making over $115,000 per year, was responsible for managing IEPs for students across the district without holding the required certification. The decisions made then have lasting consequences for students, programs, and staff. So the question is this: why are taxpayer dollars now being used to have legal counsel review issues that have been raised repeatedly over the years? At the last meeting, the school board chair mentioned that the hiring and certification of the special education director happened more than 2 years ago and was looked into at the time. What were the results of that review 2 years ago? And what steps were taken to address the concerns so that taxpayer dollars aren't spent unnecessarily today? Every dollar spent on outside legal review is a dollar not spent on classrooms, teachers, or student supports. What safeguards are in place to ensure this doesn't happen again? Taxpayers expect leadership that protects students, supports staff, and manages public funds responsibly. They're not asking for perfection. They're asking for accountability and for their money to be spent on students, not preventable legal reviews.
Thank you. Anybody else for public input? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close public input. Future agenda items. Looks like building grounds in May. You got something?
I have one for you.
Okay.
Future agenda item, and I gave you each board members a draft school calendar. I didn't want to invite a discussion the first time you're looking at it, although feel free because it's been a real hot button this year across the state. Here is a draft school calendar. We'll put it on your next agenda for discussion and possible action. The most important thing you're going to notice is that Labor Day falls on September 7th. There are many, many enthusiasts in New Hampshire, and some probably sitting in the room right now, for never starting school prior to Labor Day. And I would like to introduce you to snow days July 1st and 2nd, if that is the case. So that's not a threat, it's the reality within which we have to develop these calendars and work. So this proposal, which we've also shared as we are obligated to do under our collective bargaining agreements with the presidents of our 6 labor associations, would have faculty come in the latter half of the week of August 24th through 28th, with freshman orientation at the high school that Friday, and then school for all students Monday, August 31st. It's not the only way to do it. It's not how we have to end up doing it. We may have a very robust discussion about this, but I wanted to start you with something to look at. So please take it, look, formulate your thoughts, and come prepared next time we meet. Unless you want to go at it right now.
No. So, I'm just saying, nope. I'm sure we have a lot of discussion. Our next meeting is March though, right?
Yes.
So, okay. For our next meeting too, we have reorganization, correct? Is that next month for this?
Yep. You will reorganize. We do have there's some information in your package that doesn't require action, but we will ask you to take action on the possibility of hosting an exchange student. We do that routinely here. We'll do that at your next meeting in March. You voted on the program of studies tonight, so we don't have to do that, but we'll put the calendar on that agenda for sure.
So for the joint board meeting, it's Alton that'll be chair next year, and Barnstead vice, and then also any of the committees that people are on, if they wish to remain or whatever they wish to do, that'll also be part of the reorg, whether that happens that night or not. The chair will have to happen that night because somebody run the meeting. So just so you know, the superintendent runs it until voted on who that person is.
2 whole minutes.
Have we resolved the questions around the scholarship that we offer?
So, thank you for asking. We have, but I may not have reported in an open meeting to the joint board. So, last year there was a question about creating a scholarship like the Maureen Fitzpatrick Scholarship to be sponsored by the board. One of the fun surprises for newly elected board members, usually at your very first meeting, is congratulations on your election to this basically volunteer position. We need $50 so you can help fund this scholarship every year. And one of the ideas I think that was discussed was having one scholarship with 2 names on it, but that seems problematic. We've been doing this a long time. Having 2 scholarships seems wonderful. I have found a sponsor to keep the cost to board members the same by matching your money. So we're gonna get a $500 donation so that you can award 2 scholarships. And when you do it, named for both people, and when you do it, I think we need to leave the discussion with you about, because one of the people being honored is a former Alton board member and one of them is a former Barnstead board member, do you want it to be a scholarship for an Alton student and a scholarship for a Barnstead student, or do you want to use the process you've been using to rank the essays and just have it be 2 scholarships regardless of where the students come from? Because right now, you don't know where the students are from when you read those essays. But we have the capacity to award 2 scholarships. It's sustainable. It'll happen every year. And I think this was probably the outcome we all wanted.
It actually might be time to actually call it the Prospect Mountain School Board Scholarship in the name of so-and-so.
Each of those folks, yeah.
Because some of us are getting older.
So about 2 weeks ago, we did talk to Linda. So as Linda Roy is still here, she's getting everything ready for scholarships so that we won't have to run around and figure that out after she's gone. Thank you, Linda. And we already told her there will be 2 of these following the same process. So students are writing essays and that all is happening the way it always does.
Tim, I've been working on this on my own, trying to put it together, and I didn't realize the time frame was this tight, so I'm not really prepared right now. But let me just give you a once overlay of what I was thinking of. I thought that if we could have a scholarships actually is what I was thinking, and the idea would be we would recognize 5 or 6 students who fulfilled the values of the school, the mission statement of the school, the goals of the school. And I agree with you, we should call it the Prospect Mountain School Board Scholarship. And it should be the best scholarship that's offered, because the students who would be successful at receiving the scholarship would be the ones who reflect the exact goals that we have established for the school itself. And I haven't got anything written down, you know, but I can do that if you want to talk about it more. I thought that perhaps this could be funded through the open enrollment money, since we have no necessarily categorical accounting for that right now. And I was looking at making these substantial scholarships, upwards of $2,000 each.
So there's a couple things.
So it's a little more than we're ready for right now, and I'm not putting it out there, but I'm saying this is what I was thinking about. And I know probably this year is not gonna happen, but I think something like that would be reflecting where the board is identifying the students who are meeting the goals that we've agreed to, that we voted on and approved.
So there's some, and he's looking up right now. If we can use the money and put it to the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, if you have a minimum of $25,000, that will give you, I believe, $1,000 in perpetuity forever coming in towards scholarships. So if you put more, I say it's because I think there's some other clubs that are looking, doing the same thing. And we look because we're going to be, wife and I and family are going to be sponsoring 2 different scholarships this year. But you can put it in there in perpetuity and then money coming back. Now, what that threshold is, I think it's $25,000 gets you, I can't remember if it's $1,000 or $2,000, but it's a breakdown. And so you might know.
I think it's 1,000.
I think it's $1,000 for $25,000. And again, once New Hampshire Charitable takes your money, what they do is they invest it.
Yeah,
And then that's where it comes back. So I don't know if we're able to do that with that money or not.
So the other way to do this, and some of you, I've gone partway down this road and I've brought groups together and I've tried to get it going, and we haven't yet, is to have a local 501c3 scholarship foundation or education foundation, which would be independent from the school and the board, but its articles of incorporation could include a member of the school board is always on its board of directors, or one from each town, or something like that. So there's always representation. So there's that link to the school, but it's a separate 501c3. It could do all of its own fundraising. People could make donations to it that would be tax deductible. If you do a scholarship foundation, then the money can only be used to award scholarships. If you do an education foundation, then money raised could be used to award scholarships or to make other donations to the school by vote of that nonprofit's board of directors. That's a matter of getting a group together and going through the work to incorporate and get going. And the amount of money involved isn't defined because it's your own charitable foundation at that point. But I worked in a school district where we had one of these, and if a family, from time to time, a family would show up and they had lost a loved one or something like that, and they would say, we want to start an endowment, and it was on the order of $20,000 or $25,000 if they just wanted to make a donation and then have that scholarship exist in perpetuity, on the theory that, okay, that's going to be invested and build interest, and then that scholarship will be paid out of the interest. Under the supervision of that nonprofit's board of directors. There's more than one way to do this. I did just send an email to one of our attorneys to find out about using unencumbered district funds or revenue for something like this, because I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, so we'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yep.
If we can't use that money, then if we did create our own 501c3, then that is another way. You fundraise to that. Once you get that threshold of money, you can take that money out of the 501c3 and put it to the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. That way it's always funding some sort of scholarship coming in. And then you can still raise more on your the 501c3 that you could actually do other stuff and more scholarships. But if you're looking for perpetuity purposes, it's a great investment. You know,
Yeah,
we'll long be dead, and it'll still be going on. All right, so we'll put that on future agenda items that we'll get back, hopefully, an opinion from our attorney. Reorg, we have calendar, and we already go through town meetings? Yeah, we've gone through town meetings, so I'm sure we're gonna figure out where that's at. Anybody else have anything for future agenda follow-up items for March? Okay. Any other business? I wish you all well, and those that are running for positions. We don't have any reason to go into non-public, as you told me today, so I'm assuming it's still the same.
Not for me. Oh, yes, for me. I didn't tell you we didn't.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
on. It's
Never
actually
mind.
on your agenda, not if necessary, but personnel.
Yeah.
Under RSA 91A32, sections A and C.
Yeah, I forgot, that's right.
Sorry.
I'll just do it. I make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A 3:2 A and C for personnel.
Second.
You got it.
Chrissy's got a second. I'll take a roll call on that.
Yes.
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 Yes. Doreen?
Yes.
Yes.